Recording. We recording with our knees in action.
Ooh, you missed him. I know.
So close, yet so far. Little knee show there. Man, you know who was doing a good knee show? Actually, I don't know. Nobody really landed any knees. I was trying to think. I'm like, going through my head. I do want to discuss the fight on the prelims that people are saying was a robbery.
Which one?
Yeah, I wouldn't say robbery, but the scoring was a little unfair. The Ode Osbourne versus Rodriguez fight.
I thought Rodriguez won 2 rounds to 1.
I thought so too. And but when I rewatched it, the third round was a lot closer than I remember. The thing that I'm pissed about is the 10-8 round that Adelaide Bird and I forget who else it was. But I'm just like men. As soon as I hear Adelaide Bird or some other woman in a position where you don't usually have women messing up, then I get extra mad.
Yeah, we're a little bit harder on women than we are on men. I feel like because, we hold them to a higher standard. We have a little bit more expectation out of them because we know how amazing they can be.
Exactly. The ceiling is so high, and you're making it harder for us to bust through it.
Gosh darn it.
Yeah, but it was her and another judge scored 10-8 on round 2, which is crazy because
that was Ron McCarthy.
Ron McCarthy.
Yeah.
He's not on my list, but I think he's on some people's list. He definitely is. But the Ode Osbourne, he got a big knockdown in the first round, almost finished the guy, Rodriguez, and then Rodriguez was able to get back on top, but there was still half a round that he was fighting for his life.
Yeah.
How does that not get a 10-8? And Rodriguez's grapple fest, where Ode was able to at least get back on top, and it started with him jumping for a submission. How is that a 10-8 round, and his first round is not a 10-8 round?
No clue.
It's really odd to me.
It makes no sense. How can you do that for one and not the other? It just doesn't make sense.
It's like they're going for time controlling as the 10-8 margin as opposed to what actually happened in that time.
There was no real damage accumulated while he was in those dominant positions.
Yeah.
He had a really sick body lock that Ode could not get out of, but the control does not equal a 10-8 round.
Yeah, she's like, oh, that body lock looks like it's hurting his ribs. He's about to tap.
No, it's really unpleasant and uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but he was not ready to give up. He was tired. But tired doesn't give you the 10-8. Being unable to fight back, being helpless, that's what gives you a 10-8. And I don't see how one exists and the other one doesn't.
I completely agree with you.
Yes.
So
I think that's why there were a lot of people calling for robbery, because the third round was actually really close. But I'm kind of on the same page with you. I felt like Rodriguez finished the round stronger, and he had more big moments in that round. Like, Ode looked sharp in the first minute and a half. He seemed like he was landing leg kicks and punches and looking a little cleaner. But then Rodriguez started to pull ahead. He started landing more punches, landing a little more power. He got that big takedown at the end and just finished on top and did a good performance of, hey, if this fight were to keep going on, I'd win the fight. So I felt like that was enough to get him that round, even though it was actually really close.
It was a competitive fight. I really wish that Ode had listened to his corner when they gave him instruction. Do not go to the ground. Don't press the takedown. Just keep it striking. That's where he did the damage in the first round that led to him getting to the ground.
Yeah.
But anytime he was on the ground, he was getting defended, reversed, or, put on the defense. So it would have been really nice if he had listened to his corner. That's what they're there for. They were seeing the key to victory, the path, and he did not listen, and he kept forcing that takedown, which he did land, a takedown or two, but still it didn't score anything because it was countered and he was put into bad positions off of them. So I would have liked to have seen that. I think that would have been a little bit more a little bit better of a decision.
Yeah, it's kind of tough when you're running on fumes and it just seems like, every time I throw something and I miss, I feel like my arm's going to fall off. He probably just felt like if he could get on top and just sit on top of him and run the clock out and get a little breath back, then that would have been the easier route. But, your coaches know you. They know the way the fight has gone already. He already wasted a lot of energy on the ground. He already got to these good positions and then lost it because the guy was just a little more scrambly. He was just reacting a little faster. And Ode was in some really good positions and not able to finish, which is like, man, the reason it took me so long to get a submission in the UFC is because anytime I would really go for a submission, I'd be so gassed afterwards. Yeah. Just your arms are dead if you're going for a guillotine. Your legs are dead if you're going for a triangle. Like there was a fight in Invicta that you cornered me for where I had, I think it was my title defense. And I had the girl in a triangle for the whole first round. And when I stood up, I was like, whoa. I couldn't feel my legs. And you're squeezing so hard and you're trying to get that finish. And if you don't have the technique perfect, then people are going to survive. And they're going to find space to breathe and get blood. And he found just a little bit of space because you could see he was almost out when he finally pulled himself out of that triangle.
Yeah, he looked like he was really trying to catch his breath. Like, he was trying to compose himself. Yes, yeah. He did. And I don't think that Ode saw that opportunity that he could have capitalized on.
I know. He's going to look at that tape and just be like,
but there's a really awesome way to cinch up a triangle. And it works very well in MMA when you have the triangle. So you saw Ode's hips were very square when you're trying to finish the triangle. So you have a bigger triangle. If you cut an angle by grabbing underneath the arm or grabbing underneath the leg, it really tightens it. It cinches it up. Ooh. It really cuts off the carotids in a nice way. Yeah. It's a nice compression, a nice choke, and it just really solidifies the finish. So I would love to do a breakdown of that.
Yeah. And you're saying he could go for the arm too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just go for the arm. It puts you perpendicular instead of parallel with him. So it's a really nice way to finish, especially for MMA.
Yeah, I like that. We will break that down later.
Yes.
So make sure to tune in. The crazy thing about that fight, too, was that there was a lot of drama in the press conference. Did you see that?
I saw it, but I didn't understand it.
I didn't either. I think there was a lot lost in translation. But basically, from what I saw, is that they both trained together.
Okay.
And they train at different gyms, but I think they sparred each other at some point a few times. And the vibe that I got from that was that Ode got the better of him. But Ode doesn't have the following that Rodriguez does. And that's from, he has an interesting look. He has his... he has a big smile. He has this crazy story where he came up from nothing. So he was able to, get a lot of attention and, the way he fights too. He's been getting a lot of wins. So I think there might have been a little drama there just because maybe Ode got the better of him in training and now he sees this guy getting all this attention, getting all these accolades, and he's been fighting the best of the best, and win or lose hasn't been getting that same push. So I think there was a little drama there. And even though he wasn't disrespectful, he kind of talked on the side of his mouth a little bit. And the Rodriguez guy was having none of it. He didn't even wait to hear the translation of what Osbourne was saying. He was just going off and calling him a puta and chica tu madres and dropping all these little cuts and stuff. And I think having all that drama before a fight can really fog the way that you
It'll
fight.
Zap you. That kind of energy on top of how stressful and overstimulated a person is going into a fight, that completely depletes your energy system, your nervous system.
Yeah.
And I mean, I understand the want and the desire to
hype it
and promote a fight, but there are more pressing things to deal with rather than depleting your own energy. You have to be really careful where you're expending your energy. Don't spend so much time like talking shit with people online and
stay off of
worrying
online.
about all of these things. Like
Stay
it's really,
offline.
but it's really easy to get distracted, especially when you're a younger fighter, you're coming up, you see, the pinnacle, you see where you want to be and you're not quite sure how to get there. So you try different paths. And sometimes that can be, promoting a fight aggressively, recklessly. It's just, it's different for everybody. But I think that people really do need to be mindful of where they put their energy.
Yeah, I think for someone like Osbourne, who's just the nicest person, very respectful, didn't curse once when he was doing his crap talk. I think it was probably more energy for him than for someone who says puta with every, with every
For
other
sure,
sentence.
because it's not like who
It's not
he
natural.
authentically is.
Yeah.
You got to stick to who you are.
Yeah, so it looked like he was making some rash decisions in there, and maybe it was because he wasn't fully mentally there, because it looked like he could have won that fight with
I think he
all
could
those
have.
positions that he was
Yeah.
able to get. Just work on that side, because it's a real thing. Like your brain can sabotage you, it can push you over the edge. It's so powerful what the mental side does for you. And people like Sean Brady, you've seen everything they say in their press conferences, everything they say in their interviews are very intentional.
Yes.
Because they're putting themselves in that right mindset that they need to be in to win. And when I was hearing Osbourne's, rebuttals, I was just like, man, that's not him.
Yeah.
That's not him. I have a bad feeling about that. But he'll figure it out. He's a smart kid and he's had a lot of experience in there. So I know bounce back. And Rodriguez, man, what a dog that guy is. Like, he was in some tough positions and he was just able to find a way out of it and just grind out where he was winning. Like, adaptability again, he was able to figure out a position. And I don't know if body triangles are his thing, but the fact that he just held on to it for as long as he could to zap the energy out of Osbourne. The commentary team was like, we've never seen this before. And it's like, he probably has never done this before. Osbourne just has a small waist and he's controlling
He had
him.
to cinch it.
And he's just in there and he's like, hey, I'm going to stay here the rest of the round. It was a good call. He was able to adapt on the fly.
Yeah, I think Rodriguez encapsulated the Mexican fighting spirit that they were looking for in Noche. Do you know what I'm saying? I think I did like his modified body triangle. It was, instead of behind the hamstring on the opposite side of the hip, it was like intertwined. It was interlaced within the hip. So he was really, really tight, and he wasn't fully completely on his back. It was kind of off to a side. So it was an interesting body lock. I'm kind of interested to play around. Yeah, just let's see the legitimacy in it. Let's see how it works, because it was very effective in that night.
Yeah, I think the weirdest part about it was that he didn't let it go once he got to mount. And I'm like, maybe there's a strategy there, because usually you get to mount, you let it go, you relieve some pressure on your knees, but also you're able to float better and not get spun out on. But he did a good job of keeping the back for most of the round until that last 20 seconds where his legs must have just been zapped from holding that triangle.
Yeah,
for
he
so
was
long.
a little bit too deep. When somebody switches from the back to mount, you can still keep your legs crossed, but it's a little bit looser. But he stayed with that deep cross and the legs, and that kind of it hindered his mobility.
Yeah, and Osbourne was so close to getting out.
Oh, if he could have
so many
just,
times.
No, I felt for him. I was frustrated for him. If he had just brought that arm in and then got the underhook, he could have turned his body, or if he had just moved his hips and given a little bit more, room for his arm to get in. It's definitely a lesson learned, something that he can really take from and work on after this fight.
For sure. It was a really good scrap. And then what else did we not talk about yet? There was another fight on
Zellhuber.
Yes.
And Ribovics.
Yes.
The Mexican and the Argentinian.
Yes, that fight was pretty nuts.
I think that got fight of the night, no?
It did.
as it should have.
It did.
That
yeah.
was a great fight.
It was so crazy.
Yeah, and I think that they, when the matchmakers made this fight, like when they were making every fight, I think they just saw like striking wars. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these fights were just set up to be bangers, and a lot of them were. And I think that that's what they saw in this matchup, and it definitely delivered.
No, it was great. It was interesting because in the beginning, it looked like Zellhuber was just finding his range perfectly, able to pick apart, able to stay long. His kicks were landing really nice too, like his head kicks, his body kicks. He's one of those strikers who can step backwards and throw a kick at the same time. Like that's so hard to teach people to do. So his footwork was really nice. It was very Muay Thai. I really liked it. And then Ribovics, he just was having none of it. He was just getting in the pocket, zipping his head around. Like the thing that he kind of reminded me of Me, Myself, and Irene, only a good version. You know what I'm talking about? Where Jim Carrey, he's like about to fight the guy, and he's like that's what it looked like once he got in the pocket, but it was a good version of it where he was able to get in, slip out of the way, and then land something, slip, land, and then spinning back fist out of nowhere. Like it was really interesting to watch him play with danger like that because he would just get in the pocket and boom, 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 and get out.
Yeah, his head movement was what I was in most admiration of in this fight. His punches came from kind of funky angles. He never really like brought his elbows up or, really extended his punches
Because
forward.
Why
He
waste
doesn't
the
need
energy?
To. He doesn't need to. But I was just so impressed how he would throw out a punch. He would move his head out. He would capitalize, move out of the way, capitalize again. Like his boxing, his head work, his spatial awareness was just so impressive. It was so much fun to watch.
Yeah, it was like one of those like fighter jets. What do you call it? TIE fighters in Star Wars. The little planes, and there's the big one, the big mothership, and they're like going through like the going through the tight hole and zipping out.
And the Death Star, what was that thing called?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. That's what it looked like when he was zipping around Zellhuber's long limbs and getting out of the way of his straights and stuff. But he was getting landed on it in that third round.
Ooh, I thought that Zellhuber was like sealing the deal. I was like, oh man, he just changed the tides. But no. He said, no, sir.
Yeah. That elbow kind of started it. The elbow that Zellhuber landed. I feel like he had like an Ortega moment. Ribovics did. He was like, oh shit, I'm losing. All right.
And then landed 100 punches in like 2 minutes. Just unrelenting.
Yeah.
Completely unrelenting. Gave no space. And I mean, Zellhuber did his diligence. He was moving really well, just trying to not be a sitting target. So that was impressive when he was in really deep water, that he kept trying to survive and kept trying to, stay in the fight.
Yeah. Yeah. They were saying, the commentary was saying that Zellhuber does an hour of shadow boxing after training every day. And I mean, I think that showed in the way that he was able to do all of this movement while concussed. Like, I don't think he remembers doing half of that movement, but he was getting out of the way, surviving. And that's just that mental, those what do you call it? Those reps that he was doing. That's just muscle memory.
Yeah, that's what you want when your body goes into autopilot, when you're in deep water, when you're in a bad situation and your body just kind of takes over for you. That's what you hope that you have trained into your muscle memory.
Yeah, that's what happens with Ortega when he gets dropped and then wakes up with the guy in his triangle. Yeah. Like, oh, how'd you get here? Oh, great. Turn the angle. Yeah, so this guy, he was able to survive. For a second, I thought he was going to pull the Pat Barry Czech Congo finish.
Possum.
Yeah, well, he wasn't. He got dropped, and I'm like, oh man! But then he started throwing hooks. A couple of them landed pretty heavy against the fence, but I keep forgetting his name. Ribovics was good. His chin was good. The elbow didn't affect him too much after that big flurry, and he was able to seal the deal and get the win. And we talked a little bit of mess about Herb Dean, but I feel like we should give a little appreciation where it's due. Herzog was on top of that fight, making sure that there weren't any eye pokes happening. Yeah. And then when it happened, he was like, "That's on you. I told you." Like
he was warning him the whole fight because he was reaching with his long limbs and his long fingers, and eventually, it did what we thought it would.
You think John Jones was in the first row, like? Yes, my
he
pupil.
Said, "Talk to me after the fight. I'll help you.
I'll show you how to hide it better.
I'll just correct it. Just a little bit of tweaking, and you're there.
You gotta wait until the punch is fully extended to flick it out. Just we'll work on that. We'll work on that for next time.
I got you.
Yeah, but no, I love Herzog's reffing during that, and I don't know. I think Zellhuber might have been a little distracted after he got yelled at and got clocked right over the top.
If you're doing something kind of subconsciously or you're not fully aware of it, and then you're being warned about it, it does take you a second. You're like, oh wait, am I doing it? I don't want to do it. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get a point taken away, kind of thing. So I think there is something to that where it can kind of take you out of space for a minute, but it's something that you need to train yourself not to do.
Yeah, it's so easy to just lose focus for half a second, and that's all it takes to get clocked over the head. But another fight where I feel like maybe a foul distracted them was our girl Yasmine.
They both fouled each other, though.
They both fouled
each other. They were even. And he even said it to them, too. He's like, all right, you got one. No more. I love it. He was on a roll last night.
Yes, he was. But, I just feel horrible for her. That was such a nasty drop and then submission. Kudos to, what's her name?
Oh my God.
I was trying to look it up before I got to that part of the sentence.
Oh my goodness.
We're horrible.
I'm just as bad. Hold on.
So bad.
Hold on, I'm almost there.
Don't lose us, guys. I'm sorry. Here, show some leg.
Sometimes we do that.
Show some leg. Hurry, before they click away.
Souza.
Okay. Souza.
Jesus. Sorry, guys.
Oh my God.
You know what? We're human. We're not perfect.
I'm sorry. I didn't think she was going to win.
There's just so many things to talk about. There's so many topics.
So many people.
One thing that the broadcast team brought up is that they think females should be wearing cups.
Do they?
Yes. They think that we should have some sort of crotch protection.
So our friend Corey told me about an incident, and I won't say who, but a teammate of hers.
I won't tell anyone. Just tell me.
I'll tell you. Okay. We'll say it in the exclusive. But a teammate of hers actually had their little man split.
No.
And had to get it stitched.
In a fight?
In ER after the fight, yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Shoot.
So I didn't even know this is like a new fear unlocked for me. I didn't know that was possible because I am one of the biggest naysayers of the female groin shot.
I'm like, that didn't hurt.
I'm like, it's not going to be the same, at least, as a male groin shot. And I feel like if it was, there would definitely be a reason for like a stop. But I feel like the female groin shot is like getting flicked in the nipple or something. Like it hurts a lot, but it's not gonna shut down your organs, and that's kind of what a male groin shot does. But they both got hit in the groin, and it looked like it hurt both of them. And they had a second, but Yasmine's was one of her last seconds.
Yeah,
in there.
They each only took about like 30 seconds off, if that.
No,
it was
yeah.
like they shook it off pretty well. I think they were just maybe surprised and had never experienced that. Yeah. Like, wait a minute. It's
down there.
It's a thing.
Yeah, and when you're in fight camp, you're probably not getting it in a lot. So, that thing's even extra tender.
Angela.
I'm just guessing. I don't know. She hasn't told me about her 6
Well,
months.
they say for males you're supposed to abstain, and then they said for females it actually helps increase your testosterone.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you about my blue balls theory?
No.
Like,
Do tell.
so is like female blue. So you get close and then you don't do the final moment.
Curving.
And I feel like it makes you even more like
Sure.
angry.
I think that's the same with men too.
Like you want to take it out on someone.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, like how dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you finish?
The audacity.
And then you go out and finish the girl that you're fighting. So maybe that's what happened.
Well, I mean, next fight camp, I think that's a theory to test.
Hey,
Let me know how that goes. Document it. Take notes.
Hey,
Journal.
you're fighting before me. You should give it a try. I actually did it once, and I think it worked. I think it was one of my finish fights.
I already run pretty angry.
I forget which one it was, but I'm pretty sure I had a pretty bomb ass performance when I did it.
I think for everybody's safety, I should not do that.
Oh God, yeah. We'd all die.
Yeah,
or get humped. I'm not sure which one.
Yeah,
the weight cut party would be interesting.
You wouldn't have to worry about the weight cut party. I think it's just leading up to that. I'd be too depleted during the weight cut to do anything.
To just like dry hump.
Yeah, exactly. Like you'd have to do it for me.
Just jump up and down. I'm just taking your back. This is grappling. We're just grappling right now.
No, I've been working on staying on the back the whole time.
Oh my God. Anyway, back to the fight.
They're never gonna take us seriously. Look
they're
what you
never
started.
gonna. I'm sorry. People just don't respect.
We take away the yams, and then look what you put out there. Look what you did.
This is why no one wants to listen to women. We are the Adelaide birds of podcasting.
Yo, did you see? No, did you see somebody commented on one of our videos, and they said, yes, they did, and they said. This is from Long Mavind. It was in one of our. That's his handle. He said Longu Mavind.
Okay,
that's the thing.
Okay.
Anyways, this person on Instagram said 2 girls chatting about male fighters. ... It's just not credible. ... I'm just saying ... I'm not saying that they say anything wrong, but. The 2 girls, LOL.
Yo, okay, first of all, if you're going to say something, if you're going to talk shit, say it with your chest. You don't have to ...
And put an LOL at the end of it.
Yeah, the crying face, laughing crying face. Get the fuck out of here. Just say it or move on.
Say it, yeah.
You spent all that time writing out the paragraph.
He probably retyped it a few times too.
Oh, yeah, I bet there's like an edited next to it.
For sure.
And no one liked it. Because they love us. They love us.
We're
and they
very
know.
likable.
Yeah. And the thing is, we have a lot of insight that your average Joe podcast does not have.
Wait, did you just stumble upon us in like the You May Like page on Instagram?
Yeah, like I know you're following us at some point or know of us, or maybe
he doesn't. Maybe he just stumbled upon it.
Yeah, maybe you were just looking for MMA things and that happened. So in case you didn't know, we're both very well educated. We've been around a lot. We probably know personally your favorite fighter, and we've been fighting since the UFC allowed strawweights in the UFC. So relax.
Yeah.
Calm down.
Off.
Calm down.
Chill,
we
bro.
have the credentials.
Chill.
We have the
Do some
credentials.
research.
Yeah. 2,000 significant strikes in the UFC. Just saying. I know what it feels like to throw a punch. But also, I do feel like we have better insight on the female fights.
Sure.
But you're not going to look at 2 men breaking down a female fight.
Are you going to say the same thing to the men?
But
I
you're
think
not credible. Not credible. How would you know what a female nut shot feels like?
Think
I mean,
about that.
that's kind of a credible thing to say, but you're not going to ask those questions because you're a chauvinist.
Just go play video games or do whatever you do normally.
In your mom's basement.
Yeah. Stop it.
Yeah. But I do want to go back to this fight. I felt like...
We digress.
I felt like Yasmin was doing a great job. Like, I felt like her kicks were looking really nice. She was stringing together combinations. And it was just this one moment she threw a naked kick. And Souza did a great job of passing the kick along, landing a hook up top. And you never expect two hooks. Mm-hmm. Like, you never expect two hooks. You expect a 3-2 or a hook overhand or like a hook shot, but you never expect two hooks. And because she threw that naked kick, her hands were a little low. She had just gotten stopped with nut shot, and her rhythm wasn't back on yet as it was when she was flowing and hitting and throwing her own nut shot. Mm-hmm. So that sucks. I mean, Jamal Hill talks about it in his fight with Pereira, how just that little moment of interruption totally throw off his rhythm, and he's not blaming Herb. I think it was Herb Dean, right, who didn't actually jump in, but just that interruption of a moment can throw off your rhythm and make you not really ready for that next big punch that's happening. Like, you use all this time to establish, okay, this is what I'm doing. Okay, I'm making reads. And then you start flowing. And then all of a sudden, oh, wait, stop.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a thing. And I feel horrible for her because she was doing so well. But Ketlin Souza, kudos to her. She came out of nowhere. The second biggest underdog on the card. I think obviously the biggest underdog who won on the card. I think it was plus 500 or something like that her odds were to win. So big deal for her. And she might be moving up when it comes to competition. I'd be interested to see her with someone just outside of the rankings, like a Jackie and Moram, somebody like that who's just knocking on the door of the top 15 but hasn't broken through yet. Mm-hmm.
I mean, potentially, it's her second fight in the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
Her first fight was against Man. She had a
Marnik Man.
Yeah, she had a good showing there. And I mean, she does have the potential to take Warage's spot in the rankings for sure.
Oh, was she ranked?
Well, I mean, where she was.
Oh, okay.
In the ladder,
the invisible top.
Yes,
the top,
because there are more
30.
than 15 fighters.
Yeah, the top 30 to 15.
Yeah,
that spot for sure. Yeah, I think anyone who beats Yasmin because she just had such a big splash when she got into the UFC usually gets a big opportunity right away. Like Denise Gomez, she got to fight me. Yay. And then who else was it? Yasmin beat her, I think, but that girl went on to fight Carolina and beat her, and now she is in the top 15 as well. So Yasmin is definitely right there, and when she loses, those people get to, or not even when she loses, but anyone who she fights, if they have a good showing, they get to jump up a bit. And when it comes to opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, I could see her fighting just outside of the top 15. I'm not exactly sure who, but she's definitely on the to be watched list.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we got to train with Yasmin a little bit. What do you think about like the weight cut? Because she's a big girl.
She's a bigger girl. She's still pretty young. I feel like we talk about this a lot, how much the weight cut can actually affect the performance. And we've seen two examples of her being dropped and losing a fight potentially because of a weight cut.
Yeah. And the wins too. I mean, the reason that her fights are so exciting is because a lot of times
she packs a lot of power because she cuts a ton of weight.
Well, no, a lot of times she gets dropped and then comes back and then drops the person. She's like kind of like a Mexican female Gaethje. in a sense, you know, like she puts on these crazy fights, and when you win, you don't look at it as something that you need to fix as hard as when you lose. So I think this is 2 times in a row where she wasn't able to recover. And I think I would just love to see her try 125 once.
Well, so you're not focusing
like.
the whole fight camp on losing weight and making the weight, you know? You can put that energy into so many more productive different places, like skill, like building muscle, like doing things that are more positive for you rather than trying to deplete yourself completely for that potential advantage. Because what we've seen repeatedly is it'll be an advantage for a time, having that size, strength, power advantage, but at a certain point it just starts doing the opposite. It has a more negative effect. So she gets pretty big. I don't know what she weighs outside of camp, but just looking at her, she looks like she could be one of those girls that could make that jump up.
Yeah, or, you know, she doesn't have to commit to 125 either. She could be a Rebus or an Andrade who bounces back and forth, and depending on the opportunity, I'll jump in and I'll fight this person, or I'll take the time to cut the weight and fight that person. And I think that might open up opportunities for her just because it's a little easier to climb to the top at 125. And once you hit the rankings in one weight class, it almost carries over to the other.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
I really wanted to get the sentence out before that happened. I'm like, I can't stop it.
Yeah, we've seen it with Hebus. We've seen it with Suarez.
Yeah.
There are girls that can jump up and down. And then maybe, you know, she goes up and takes a fight and she realizes that she loves it. Maybe she realizes that she doesn't. Maybe it's a lifestyle change thing. But I do, from the data that I've collected, just watching her closely, I just feel like there is something to it with her being able to recover and adapt in a fight when facing adversity. And that could be because of the weight cut.
Yeah, and you know, it doesn't even, it might not even be about the weight cut being super harsh, because she does look healthy when she weighs in. She doesn't look drawn out, or eyes aren't all bugged out or anything. She looks healthy, she looks good, but it could just be about protecting that brain just a little bit more. Because if you have that accumulation, we talk about CTE and getting dropped and how eventually it catches up with you. You might not even realize what you're experiencing or the moment where you first got that brain damage. But to protect your brain, having less harsh weight cuts will do that. So even if your weight cut isn't the suckiest, we don't have a ton of weight to cut, but they still suck. You're still dry and sucked out and thirsty, and if you're lucky, your lips aren't sticking to your teeth in the morning.
It's the worst.
But it's harsh, it's unhealthy, and the less stress you put on the body, I think the better you'll perform, especially if you're already having moments where you're taking the same damage you take in training, but you're getting dropped from that.
Yeah, I think she's so talented and such a force. I would just really like to see her, you know, be able to show what she has consistently.
Yeah. She's been working really hard on everything. Like her grappling looks so much better now. Her wrestling.
The way she puts everything together in the gym.
Yeah.
And in her fights as well. But it's something special. And I want her to have a successful career, and I care about her brain, and I care about every fighter's brain. Like, this is, you know.
We're so mature caring about people. Look at us, little aunties of MMA. 2 aunties.
That's the spinoff.
We're going to have our little moo-moos on and our glasses.
I'll be drunk every episode.
Wine. Every episode we'll have wine, a whole bottle. You guys can watch us finish it and talk shit about how good we were back in the day, and these kids don't know how good they have it.
Oh, God, don't even get me started. I could do that now.
Dude, did I ever tell you about Lisa Ellis doing that to me when...
Lisa Ellis.
When, your favorite.
Poor thing.
She did that to me when I was before we got on the show, we were like in a car and they had already taken our phones away and stuff, but we were on our way to, I guess, a hotel or something. And it was me, Rose, and Lisa Ellis in the car. And we were both talking about how hard it was to get fights in order to, get on the show or just in general. And I'm like, yeah, I had to fight like 2 days before the tryouts and I had to do all this stuff to get the girl to fight me. And then Rose was like sharing her story about how hard it was to get a fight after like a couple wins. And then Lisa goes, of course she's in the front seat. She does she does the mama like, you girls don't know how good you have it. She started talking about how she had to fight up a weight class and had to fight like in bars and all this other stuff. And we were both kind of like,
shut up, lady.
Bad kids. Yeah, like we were both kind of like, no one was talking to you, but we let her talk. But that was the face. Like
I feel like it's just that it's coming from her. Like if somebody else had said the same exact thing,
yeah,
it probably would have been received a lot better.
It just sounded kind of spiteful. It didn't sound like she was trying to
she
give
had
us
a chip on her shoulder.
Yeah,
she was also one of those fighters. Like she was fighting before I started fighting, and I fought her twice.
Yeah.
I always admired the fact that she was stepping up fighting people that are bigger. And, she was, wrestle heavy kind of fighter. I love grappling. So I had a lot of like respect and admiration without like knowing anything about her. And then I met her and then I realized that she's
No
one
more
of those
admiration.
fighters. No, I learned a lot because of the way she showed up to me, because she was one of those fighters that wouldn't take accountability, responsibility for her losses and like her performances. I was like, wow, I never want to be like that. Yeah. It's very important for fighters to look at themselves in the mirror, to take the feedback from fights, to really like take them seriously into heart and go work on yourself, because she would just blame everybody else for all of her losses or for things not going her way. And it drove me crazy. So I appreciate her for that.
Thank you for showing me what not to do. Yeah, it's hard, man, because you want to look at every different detail of why something went wrong and try to figure out, okay, why did this happen when I was so confident that it was going to go right? But at the same time, putting that much power on something you have no control over is just self-destructive.
It's not productive at all.
Yeah, it isn't. Like instead of blaming other people, figure out how these other people aren't going to affect your performance, if they mess up. Because you can only really 100% rely on yourself. And it's hard to live that way. Like it's hard to compete for sure that way. And even just going through life in general, if you're blaming everyone else for your mishaps, then you're never going to get anything done.
No.
Yeah, it's sad.
It's
sucky, but hopefully she's doing all right now. I mean, that was 10 years ago when we were having that conversation. I just thought it was funny because now 10 years later, here I am about to do the same thing with the next generation of fighters. You girls don't know how good you have it. You have Contender Series. You don't have to go in a house for weeks at a time. You get to use your phone during fight camp, train with your own coaches. You don't know how good you have it.
No, these girls got it good for sure.
Yeah.
It's nice to see where the sport's going, though.
It is. I'm not jealous. I'm happy. I'm happy for them. There's one kid we haven't talked about. Chiweewee!
If we must.
Why? Okay, so I actually didn't really watch this fight.
It was his typical. So he's becoming one of those like really grapple heavy.
Okay.
Guys. I mean, he was hunting.
Always kind of like that, though, right?
Yeah.
Or did he just throw more on the feet before he got to the grapple?
Yeah. Now it's very much leading. He wants to get that double leg. He wants to get that takedown. He wants to get that submission. It was. I think. What? I was like, what was that? Did you hear that?
I'm still choking from that whipped cream I swallowed down the wrong pipe.
You're playing it off very well. No, he's they're building him up. He's already calling for his retirement. He's
I saw that.
I'm like, it's nice that he has this all mapped up. I don't know that it's gonna go that way. He didn't have the performance that I think the matchmakers intended or wanted him to have to open up the show.
Yeah.
He called for a bonus afterwards, and the whole broadcast team were like, you don't get one. You don't get one from that kind of performance. But he's in a great position because the organization loves him and they're pushing him. He's in a tough spot though, because he's also like learning on the fly.
Yeah.
You know, it's a tough spot to be in. There's going to be a lot of pressure. So I hope he stays grounded. I hope he keeps evolving and just like really focused on that goal.
And keeps cleaning his room.
And he's cleaning his room.
Otherwise, Dad's not going to let you
He was banking on that bonus to get out of the house.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he's going to stay in there for a few more months.
Like, I'm going to get me an apartment. I won't have to clean anything. Rats and roaches.
Oh, God.
Oh, man. I can just imagine how dirty his room was to make that a news article.
Right.
You know, like it had to have
maybe
been
it was
bad.
just a really slow week in MMA for them to talk about that.
I don't know. I feel like it had to be really bad. Like
I want to see pictures.
I know,
I want to see if
right?
I can Google it right
maybe
now.
a hoarder house. Like he just turned his dad's place into a hoarder house, had pizza boxes with half-eaten pizza laying around. And
Where did they go out of vacation? Like, were they out for the weekend or something like that? How could it get that bad?
oh, you think he had one of those house parties that they always do on those stupid movies? He's like, Chiweewee, my parents are gone for the weekend. And then the whole like jiu-jitsu gym comes through and has like a big kegger.
maybe.
Yeah, I'd love to see what that actually looks like. But at least he's in the win column. He got another fight done. The thing is, when you have that much hype behind you, they're always going to keep pushing you as long as you keep getting those wins.
No, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. But again, as we've seen, like with O'Malley, like with Paige and Sage, like as long as they can, they will give them good matchups. But there's a certain point where those matchups become very scarce.
Yes.
And then not possible. And then you are just left to, to do what you do. I mean, do the best you can.
That's kind of what happened when O'Malley fought Jan.
Yeah.
But luckily, the judges were on his side. I wonder if Chris Lee and Sal D'Amato were scoring that card. I'm curious.
How do we Google that?
Look up MMA decisions, O'Malley versus Jan. Ooh, conspiracy. I need a foil hat for whenever I think of something. One of my conspiracies against judges. It's always about judging, though. It's never about anything else.
So that was, hold on, let me blow this up. Ben Cartilage, Dave Leatherby, and Vito Paulio.
Okay. And it was unanimous or a split?
Wait, why can't I see?
Okay. Vito, the one I've never heard of, is the only one that scored it for Jan.
Yeah.
Dang. Okay. So they're not part of, they are on my list though of people to watch out for, but not my personal list, just list in general. I don't think Ben Cartilage I don't think Ben Cartilage has ever done me wrong, but he has had some questionable decisions.
Sure did Jan wrong.
He did. Where has he been? Where's Piotr Jan been? He's
chilling in Thailand somewhere, maybe taking a family vacation back in Russia. Who knows?
Interesting.
He's Russian, right?
I believe so.
I think so. I did really poorly on the flags yesterday. I was like, they're from Uruguay. No, it's from Argentina. I was way off. No.
Isn't it the same language though? Then they both speak.
They have a very similar dialect type of Spanish. Yeah, it's Spanish, but they have a very a Spanish.
Like
Do you know
a
what I
Spain
mean?
Spanish.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
You get me.
Gotcha.
Well, I couldn't find a picture of Raul Rosa's room, so if you guys at home have that picture. I'd really like to see it.
Somebody knows him.
Somebody send us. We want to
seen
see.
it.
We want to see the catastrophe. We want to see why he got in trouble, and it was all over MMA News.
Yeah. Well, we had some fan questions that I'd like to, kick around a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And let's see. I'm going to pull up one right now. And a lot of them we already hit, kind of breaking down the fights. Someone asked what we thought of Ketlin Souza's knockdown, which would have been nice to read before because we forgot her name. And we already hit most of this stuff. Actually, I probably should have vetted the questions before.
Did you go on our Instagram questions?
Yes. One thing people want to know is, are you single? Because of course I used our post Hill Sprints booty picture to ask the question.
Well, your booty looked very bootylicious in that
Hey,
one, so I wasn't surprised you posted it.
Your booty looked very bootylicious, and your booty got all the attention.
I don't think so.
And your shoes. People like those shoes.
They're great running shoes. Ever since I broke my foot,
And your
great.
Socks.
I love those socks too.
They're good socks.
They're great socks. I love those socks.
Oh man. One person asked, takedown defense versus grappling on ground defense. Discuss.
What does that mean?
I think they're saying, what's the difference? Like, so like if we're talking about Ode's fight, Ode Osbourne, he didn't really use a takedown defense kind of approach. He used on ground defense kind of approach where he was on his back. He was hunting for submissions and not really using like wrestling get-ups to get back up to his feet. And yeah, I think in MMA, the safest bet when you're a grappler is to always end up on top, no matter what. Like if you're going to pull guard, be really good at sweeping. If you're going to get put on your back, just know eventually once the clock ticks to maybe 30 seconds in, if nothing's going on, you have to have a good get up. You know what I mean? And I think that's what they're asking. But what are your feelings on being defensive with the takedowns or with the wrestling, I guess, versus being defensive with the grappling?
Well, it depends on stylistic matchups. It depends on like who the fighter is as a fighter, what techniques that they lead with. If they're grapplers, sometimes it's okay to give up a takedown. I give up lots of takedowns because I want to be there. So if you're doing half of the work, but when you play that kind of game, you have to be really good at attacking right off the takedown. You have to be really good at sweeping right off the takedown and knowing, as you were just saying, when to get up, when to create space kind of thing. If you're a striker and you don't feel comfortable on the ground, then you're going to really have to work on your takedown defense, right? Using the cage as leverage so you're not getting taken down in the open. It just depends on what you're trying to do and accomplish in that fight. But I think for wrestling and jiu-jitsu type grapplers, I think hand fighting is extremely important in both cases. Getting wrist control, hand fighting is your first line of defense.
Yeah. I think with I forgot what I was going to say. Well, I this is what I was going to say. I think when you're learning, like from a striker's point of view, when you're learning, the first thing you learn is the takedown part of the defense. And then once you start getting a little more versed in the grappling area, then you start learning grappling defense. And I think the difference is grappling defense is fighting the hands, like you said, going for submissions, doing things that can create space and then allow you to get up, allow you to sweep, that kind of stuff. But it feels a lot more complicated than just getting your back to the wall, getting your knee behind you and starting to build up. And I think that's why people who are teaching strikers how to do the whole MMA game, they usually do the MMA part or the the wrestling part first before they get to the grappling part, because there's a lot of tiny moving parts, and the learning curve is a lot more drastic. Like if I'm grappling someone who has 3 days of experience and I have one, they're going to smash me. And that's just how crazy the learning curve is. But with wrestling, it's a little more physical. So you can win with athleticism in wrestling more often than you can in jiu-jitsu.
And I do think that it is in MMA a little bit easier to defend effectively against really good grapplers. Just by implementing some very like basic techniques. Yeah, you can absolutely, you can have offense, and that can be part of your defense, you know, in striking and in ground. But I think that, you know, if somebody is more jiu-jitsu heavy and they're hunting for submissions, I think it is easy to kind of like stall and stay safe if you just like stay small. Same thing with, you know, defending the takedown. Yeah, there's just, it's a little bit easier, I think, to stay safe.
With
in
with
MMA.
grappling.
In
in
yeah.
MMA. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Interesting question. I don't know if we answered it.
Yeah, I need more.
And that was from Play Voltage, who is a member, so they get 2 questions. And we gotta answer that, but I think we could talk more about what we would do personally. But he also asked, how would you have dealt with Dumont going backwards? You too often you see fighters just plodding after their opponent for 3 rounds, and this is actually something that we worked on for my last fight. Unfortunately, she kind of crashed in more often than we expected. But one thing that you want to, or that I try to do when someone is circling, moving backwards and kind of just beating me, like just being a little faster than I am when I finally commit, is trying to come forward with the punches. Like if your opponent is circling, instead of punching where they are, punch where they're going to be. Kind of like like when you took me to shot put.
Yeah.
You know, like shoot at where it's going to be. It's kind of what you have to do, especially when they're circling really hard. You never want to follow them. How how do you say it? Irene?
Yeah.
Irene?
Yeah.
Irene. Bruce said it kind of weird, but that's how you say it, right? Yeah. Aldana was just following her, and it was easier for her to get sniped as she came in. But if you kind of cut off, like kind of zigzag your combination as you're coming in and throw more than one, then you're able to at least tag them on that last hit, especially if that last hit is aimed to where you imagine them going. And she was kind of circling the same way for most of the fight, so she could have tried to cut her off when she would circle this way to her, circle to her right or Demont's left. That's where I would try to aim that last punch or that last kick or something that would close that distance, cut her off, and be able to hit her when she thinks she's out of range.
Yeah, cutting off would have been really important adjustment to make in this fight. I think throwing a head kick could have also just kind of like, I think about like what is a cat playing with a ball of yarn? You want to keep them in between the mitts.
Yes.
Kind of thing. And it's a little bit harder when somebody's running so much to do that with boxing if you're not in a ring. So the octagon allows for like a continuous movement. You know, there are no like real corners to get stuck in. So I think that, cutting off, anticipating where she's going to be, and then throwing to that, I think head kicks could have caught her as she was kind of running on the way out, at least like make her deflect and then go the other way. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So there's just certain things that she wasn't making those adjustments for.
Yeah. And then also changing that level and really trying to kind of jump into that clinch position, get a hold of her a little bit, be able to just hang on her and slow her down. Even if you're not able to get a takedown, just being able to get a hold of her somehow,
Like
maybe
stop
score.
her in place so you could score just a little bit.
Because you saw how tired she was. Dumont was in the third round. So being on your bicycle is tiring, even if you're doing all the damage, if you're landing all the punches. She was tired in that last round, and that's when Aldana was able to finally like land the mark. She was finally able to reach her. So I think the faster you can slow someone down who runs, whether it's leg kicks, whether it's grabbing them and grappling them, even if you have no intention of trying to submit them, just doing something to make them like chill and sit in a place where you can hit them would be ideal, because as soon as they can't keep that distance away, they're uncomfortable. And if you're someone who likes to fight in the pocket, that's what you want. You want to be comfortable and you want them to be uncomfortable. Some good questions, Plain Voltage. Do you have any Instagram questions that weren't about your butt?
No, I don't. They all got kind of voided out.
No. One person on Instagram wrote, I'd love to hear your ladies' thoughts about Zellhuber Ribovics. And we kind of broke that down already. And he also asked if Shevchenko may or may not have been a black widow in a former life.
Maybe.
I think she was a praying mantis.
Yeah.
We were talking about that. Yeah. I feel like she would woo them with her traditional dance. And then as soon as you give her what she wants, dead head. Bye-bye. So definitely praying mantis, not a black widow. That's more of a, I don't know, maybe a Amanda Nunes.
Oh.
She just stings them.
Yeah.
Stings them dead. Shevchenko brings you in with her fancy movements. Yeah. Yeah, I think we answered all these. I probably shouldn't have read them first because I feel like those are at the top of my head. I did think it was funny that they were broadcasting the sphere on the outside of the sphere.
Well, were they continuously doing it, or was it just clips?
I think it was just clips.
Yeah.
I think they probably had like the designs going on the outside, but every now and then they would pop Bruce up there, or they would pop a highlight up there or something. But I'm thinking, man, it'd be funny if they had the whole thing there and you're just like in the Palazzo, like on your balcony watching the fight.
So many people loitering.
Yeah. Just the streets are littered with people at the sphere. It was pretty cool though. I thought it was a really fun venue that they did. Maybe they'll do something else cool like that. Weren't they talking about going to the Coliseum at one point?
That would be cool.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
I don't know if that'll ever happen, but
no, probably not. They should make it like super authentic, where they're fighting people in the dirt. They
fighting live animals.
Yeah. They lift up a gate, and then it's like Derek Lewis and Francis Ngannou, and you have to beat both of them at once. You get a spear. They just pick a lucky guy from the crowd to try.
That would be fun.
That would
Put
be
all
real
the
fun.
Trolls in the stands and let us battle to the death.
Ooh, yes. Oh, I bet they'd be surprised. Like, we're going to pick the woman. Oh. We're not going to go easy on you. Never. Well,
that's our show. Thanks for joining us.
This has been another Two Straws. I hope y'all have fun. And, what are the fights next week?
You won't know until next week.
We'll talk about them next week, but just so we're all on the same page.
UFC. Oh, that's Moicano versus St. Denis. They have not even talked about this.
They haven't.
And that's a damn good fight.
I didn't even know that was happening.
That is a fun main event. That will that is a UFC fight night, no doubt at the Apex.
Okay.
Yeah. There are
cool. Brian Battle is back. I like watching him fight.
Little Pooh Bear or Battle Bear. Oh, Alien is back.
Ooh, twerker.
Yes.
Twerk girl. I like her traditional dance.
It's very authentic. Jermaine Derandami actually had to pull out of her fight, I thought.
No.
Yeah, I thought she got injured.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, I was looking forward to her return too.
Yeah, I love watching her fight.
But we will see you guys next week. What?
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, don't forget to send us your questions ahead of time. We love answering most of them.
Some of them. You guys need to keep asking Jess if she's single because, hey, if you have a cute profile picture, she might be.
Don't ask if you have your girlfriend in the profile picture. Please.
Oh, no.
That is just disappointing. Don't do that.
You guys.
Naughty.
Be better.
See ya.
Bye.